Oh, hey, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the Efficiency Bitch podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Leone. This podcast is dedicated to all the women out there who are aspiring to have a career while raising a family. And bitch? Well, that's more than a name and even an attitude. We use it as an acronym. It's for bank, inbox, time, connection, and harmony. Each episode is labeled according to the correct topic so that you can efficiently find the topic that you're looking for. I'm here to tell you, you can have your cake and eat it too. The trick is finding efficient ways to get through the have-tos so that you can make room for your best life. I can show you how. Let's get started. Hey, welcome to the Efficiency Bitch podcast. I am your host, Melissa Leone. I am so glad you're here with us today. If this is your first time, welcome to the Beehive. If you've been around a while, hey, glad you came back. So today's episode is going to be all about time, and time is the great equalizer, right? It's how you spend your time says so much about you. And if you're spending time in the wrong places that can drain you, it really starts to show up in your efficiency. So we have a guest today who has learned how to master her time in incredible ways. Bryce Batts is the owner of Career Collective, and she is also a mother and does all the things. So she has really learned how to manage her time. Let's jump right in. Hey, Bryce, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here.
I am so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes. So I met Bryce. I was a guest on her podcast, which is Wine After Work.
Yep.
Is that right? Okay.
That's right.
Perfect. I'm glad I didn't forget that part. But I'm so excited that you're here. We have so much to talk about. Let's start with an introduction. Maybe just say who you are, where you come from, and how you do life.
Yeah. My name's Bryce Batts, and I'm a partner at Career Collective, which is an AEC recruiting firm. So that's architects, engineers, and construction professionals. We definitely focus on A&E more than the C, but we place candidates nationwide in direct hire permanent positions. And I've been doing this for a really long time and went off on my own just over a year ago.
That's awesome. So you started a business and have gone through all of the growing pains in the first year. I know that's a fun time.
Oh yeah, it has grown and stretched me more than I could have ever imagined, and I have a great business partner. But everything people told me about having a business partner, like you will know each other so intimately, like everything about one another. And, we're really good at keeping each other in check because we know we're in it for the long game. So he's, it's a true partnership for sure.
And how did you come to do this? How did this business opportunity come to be?
Yeah, so great question. I think during COVID, like many people, I was reflecting on what am I doing? Where's my life going? I had been doing recruiting with an AEC recruiting firm for 10 plus years. When I had my first daughter, I left and then I went back, I guess about 2 years later, and was with them again for, 7 or so years. And there was just no growth. I was working from home and had been for about 12 years, and it was fine. My kids would go to school and I'd work all day from home, and I was making a great salary and had clients I loved. But there, we weren't going to open a Raleigh branch, and that's where I'm located. And I just didn't see any growth potential. So I started interviewing. I got certified as a coach, because I thought I could do some career coaching. I wasn't trying to make a huge leap, but I was like, this could be a pivot, a pivot I could make. And then my now business partner, who was working at the same company, came to me and said, we can totally do this on our own. And it took more convincing on my end, because I was like, oh gosh, I'm the breadwinner. And, I have a family to support. I've now got 2 kids in private school. And so how can I make this work? So we went over all the logistics, and now we've been in business just over a year.
That's awesome. So you're a mom and a business owner, which are 2 of the most time demanding things. I think that that people encounter, not just the mom part, but the parent part in general. How are you juggling both? What are some of your best strategies for time management?
Well, my husband is great and he's very helpful. And when they say it takes a village, I truly believe it does. We also have a sitter we love, so she's helpful in picking the kids up some days. But when we opened the business, I said there's probably going to be other women who work here who have kids or will eventually have kids. We've got to set this up in a way that it works for everybody. So I always put myself in my employee shoes. Like if I was just an employee here, how could I make this possible? And so our hours are either 7 to 4 or 8 to 5. And we have a lot of people, no kids, young people who come in at 7. And it's helpful with the commute. So I get up at 5:15-ish, go to the gym. My husband takes the kids to school and I come straight to work from the gym. And then I'm here 7 to 4 or depending on if I'm picking them up or the sitter. And then, I'm with them and we're doing dance and dinner and all the things.
Yep. All the things. I love it. I'm very similar. I'm up very early, 5:15, 5:30 ish. And the gym is certainly in my early morning routines. I am a big believer in the mornings, and that's how you can fit it all in. I've always found that the evenings for me, if I wait for the gym for the evening, something else is going to get in the way. Homework, a last minute project. There's going to be something. Tomorrow night and the following night, my kids have the spring concerts, at school where they're going to perform 2 songs and I have to be there for 3 hours and 2 nights in a row. I'm like, oh, come on.
Yeah, that's a lot. I'm just a nicer person when I work out too. And it's helpful for me to work out in the morning just to kind of get my day started. But the kids know if I wait till nighttime, I'm going to be grouchy. And then if they need something, I'm going to want to work out and there's going to be no time.
Yeah, for sure. So in my book, I talk a lot about, T is one of the 5 pillars of Efficiency Bitch, and T being one of the most important. Like we only have so much time in the day. There's nothing else there. And what I heard from you there too was not just using your routines like the mornings, but also getting help. So delegating, both to your husband and letting him do a lot, but also in hired help. Like you have a sitter who helps you get a lot done. Are there other areas of your life that you found that delegating has helped you get some of your time back?
Even with the podcast, I don't do my own editing. I have somebody that does it and he does not charge me a lot, thankfully. But even stuff like that, any small thing I can outsource, I will. We don't have a cleaner right now. I make my kids clean, but I think that's a great area to outsource if you need cleaning or if you need help there. But yeah, I'm all about asking for help because otherwise there's no way I can do it. And I want to be present when I'm here at work and not worried about the kids, who's picking them up or how can I leave at, when I need to leave and get out of these calls I need to make. So it's just so much simpler and I'm calmer, which in turn makes the family calmer.
It's so hard. There's so much generational knowledge that says women have to be the only person who picks the kids up from school or drops them off at school or makes the brownies for the bake sales. And like the generational pressure that I have felt in my past of I have to do all of that stuff is still hanging around. I think it's better than it's ever been, but I love that you're providing that type of environment in your business to allow different types of people to do life their way, right? I think that's how the world's going to get better is when employers start to see it and start to offer alternative work options for folks. Some companies have done a great job of after the pandemic, right? Not going back to the workplace, but there's so many jobs where you have to go back to the office and that's not an alternative. So I love that you guys came up with that.
Yeah, and we offer a hybrid schedule, which is helpful. They do their first 90 days in the office and then they can work from home on Wednesdays and Fridays. And recruiting is sales. So depending on your numbers, you can leave early on Friday or have a 4-day work week because that was really important to me as well. How can we maximize the time we're here, but put in less hours? I want to be at the beach on Fridays with my family when possible.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. And then how did your podcast come about? When did you start that? And what was your driving force there?
Yeah, so I was doing some coaching. I was still at my other job, and look, I love Oprah. She's like my number one mentor. I grew up watching her. And then I remember when DVDs were big, her box set came out one Christmas and I got it and I just watched them all again. So I'm like, with a podcast, I can channel my inner Oprah and interview other women. But really, I just find it so fun talking to other women. Like, I wouldn't have met you had we not connected over the podcast. Yep. So it's been great with all the people women I've been able to meet. Where's it going? I'll be honest. It remains to be seen. But week by week, I keep doing them and we'll see where it goes.
I agree. The podcast for me was a sprint while I was trying to write my book. My book was not coming out of my head fast enough and I needed something faster. And the podcast was what that was. But I have met so many awesome people and built incredible friendships because of it. So I think it's something so fun to see other people kind of DIYing it, right? Like you start to figure it out. Maybe it's a marketing tool, maybe it's a business strategy tool, but really it's like, it fills my cup as a person to be able to connect with others and have that human connection.
Me too. And I think you can find commonalities with almost anyone. At least that's how I feel. And it's amazing how we're all so similar and struggle with a lot of the same things. And
yeah, I agree. It's
great to do life well.
Right. Try to do all the things and have all the things, not do all the things. So the subtitle of my book is How Ambitious Women Can Have It All Without Doing It All. And I've really been thinking a lot about the concept of having it all. And it's so funny that context is not the same for men as it is for women. So having it all, when I wrote the subtitle of the book, I meant have a career and a family. And what's so ironic about that is that I don't think a man would consider having a career and a family having it all, because that's historically speaking the norm for them, right?
Right.
So I've been thinking a lot about that and just kind of what the next evolution of women in the workplace is going to be and how it's going to evolve. I imagine you have a very different perspective being in architecture and engineering construction. It's predominantly male driven, I would imagine.
It is. Yeah, it's heavily male dominated. But what I see with our employees, and, we have a lot of young women that work for us. Like I said, they want flexibility. They want to know they're supporting something greater, a greater mission for a lot of them, whether that's, work in the community or just helping people. So finding people jobs, is allowing them to feel helpful and kind of not fill a void, but feel like they're making a difference. And I think as women too, talking about doing it all, we have to give ourselves grace as well. I will tell you, every summer trying to get the kids in camp, it's a nightmare because you have to register by a certain time or they're all full. And Melissa, every year I will screw up 1 week where I've either double booked them or I put something wrong in my calendar. It never fails. And so now they just all know, like, there will be 1 week and I will screw it up.
I feel you on that. The summer is so stressful for me. I have I print out the 2 months, like June and July are the months that my kids are off. And I write out in pencil because it always seems to flip around on me. And then in pen for the things that I've paid for. And if I've paid for it, it's not moving, right? But it's like, are they going to their grandparents? Are they going to be at a day camp? Or because it's impossible to keep them happy and busy without some pre-planning. So that's like a whole other episode we should have about.
I know. Gosh. And I think our kids are similar ages. My oldest is 13, so she's not wanting to do as many camps now. And she can walk to our local pool, but I told her, I said, you might be a latchkey kid this summer. She's like, what's that?
You'll be fine.
We know all about that.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, mine are 8, 10, and 12. And I'm in the same boat. My oldest is too old for day camps in her mind. but still wants to be entertained. She probably would sit around and watch TV all day if I let her, but I won't let her. So tough.
Yeah, that's my fear. You can't watch the iPad all day.
Indeed. Well, we'll have to do another episode on some summertime planning, because man, it is some complicated stuff. Bryce, this was awesome. Thank you. Can you share with the audience how to get in touch with you, maybe where to find your podcast, any other contact information?
I could talk to you for another hour.
Easy, for sure.
Well, I'm on Instagram at Bryce Batts, BRYCE BATTS. Also on LinkedIn, same place. I hang out on LinkedIn a lot. Our website is mycareercollective.com. And then my coaching website is brycebattscoaching.com.
Awesome. We'll make sure all of that is in the show notes as well. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. This was so fun.
All right, that wraps it up. Thank you so much for joining us today. Be sure that you are following us wherever you listen to podcasts, and jump on over to Instagram at EfficiencyB to join in on the conversation. Until next time, I'm your host, Melissa Leon. See? Well, that wraps it up. Thank you so much for listening. If you're new around here, please be sure to leave us a review on any podcast platform you're listening to. And you can always reach out to me to let me know what topics you're interested in hearing about, or maybe telling me someone you think would be great for the show. Either way, I'd love to hear from you. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at EfficiencyB. Until next time, see ya.